The Bellamy at Milledgeville, community and lifestyle for the modern college student. Close to campus, fully gated, and a full-service professional staff. Come take a tour at the Bellamy or apply today at bellamymilledgeville.com.
Hello and welcome to the special edition of GC360, where news comes full circle. I'm Merritt Dismuke. We bring you news from the Georgia College campus and across the Milledgeville community. Today we have a special panel of guests joining us to discuss student concerns about food service at Georgia College. So joining us today are Mr. Kyle Cullers, Associate Vice President for Auxiliary Services and Organizational Development, and Mr. Greg Brown, Director of Auxiliary Services at Georgia College. Also with us are Georgia College students Kristen Martin, a freshman pre-nursing major from Locust Grove, Georgia, and Ileana De Jesus, a freshman special education major from Stockbridge, Georgia. Thank you guys for joining us today. We're so happy to have you.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
So before we get started, a word about how we're going to proceed. We're hoping for a stimulating and wide-ranging conversation. I'll ask a panelist a question about food services, and we ask panelists to offer thorough but concise answers. Other panelists can then jump in and respond with your ideas. I may from time to time call on a panelist to address a point made by another panelist, but let's get started. Okay, so it's no secret that a lot of student opinion about food services, and especially the Max, is negative, as we found out at a recent town hall that SGA organized. Let me address this to Mr. Kyle Cullers. What did you think of the feedback at town hall? What do you think was valid and what wasn't?
Well, first of all, we're very thankful to get that kind of feedback. And as feedback goes, I mean, it's all valid. Obviously, it's opinions, it's information that we need to hear as administrators and people overseeing our dining program. Is very important that we get that feedback. And we definitely heard some quite a bit of feedback and very useful feedback and things that we could respond to and take some action on. So we were very thankful to get that kind of feedback.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Brown, do you have anything to add?
No, I mean, as Kyle said, the feedback, the problem sometimes with online feedback is we don't get it in time. That was a town hall, so we got it after the fact. Nowadays, it'd be great to get that feedback through the online system that we get, where we could fix something immediately if we knew about it.
Right, right. Do y'all have anything to add to that?
I think it's just really good that we go to a school where a town hall can be held and we can say our concerns.
Okay, awesome. Well, in any event, the Max has a bad reputation, at least with a number of students. So do you think this can be fixed? And if so, how? What can be done to change student perceptions at the Max? And if y'all want to start with that, you can.
Well, I personally have a dietary restriction. I'm allergic to gluten, and so I think just having maybe a better variety of gluten-free foods other than just salads and gluten-free bread would be a better solution to help the Max.
I don't have a dietary restriction, but I do think that just more variety would be good, because some students eat their 3 meals a day, and so for lunch and dinner it's hard to be able to choose from so many options every day when you're eating there 7 days a week. So I think that variety is a big issue.
Mm-hmm.
And to get to that, the question of can it be fixed, there are definitely some quite a few improvements that need to be made, and absolutely it can be fixed. We took the feedback that was shared at the town hall along with social media feedback that we get, as well, and we're already taking steps to act on that. Absolutely, it can be fixed, and it's a joint partnership between the customers, the students, the faculty and staff who come in to eat with us, to let us know what they're looking for if we're not delivering on it, and then we can take action on those things and make sure we're delivering it. In particular, we've gotten quite a bit of feedback about the very things that you mentioned, food variety in particular, as well as food quality, but and with the food variety, especially with special dietary needs, vegetarian, vegan, pescatarian, any number of things. So those are things where, we've got some work to do. We can make some definite improvements, and we're already taking action to make those improvements.
Great. Well, next question. A lot of suspicion about the Max may trace back to a neurovirus that forced a brief shutdown in February. Where did the virus originate, and what steps were taken to prevent that from happening again? Y'all can start.
Well, identifying patient zero, as they call it, or where it really came from, they don't know where it came from. What they do know is that it did not come from any food or any aspect of the Max, the lunchbox, or any food at Georgia College whatsoever. There was a student that somehow got infected. We don't know where or how, and then the spread of the norovirus is rampant.
Right.
The shutdown was done as a measure of caution. It was not necessary. The Board of Health did not require it. Matter of fact, they asked us why we did it. We said, hey, we don't know where it's from, so we're going to take the ultra safe. And we did that, went in and cleaned, and got inspected, and they said, you guys can open back up, and we did. Okay. Part of that was we knew we were putting students, out there without meals, and so we, put $20 on every student that had a meal plan, which was kind of expensive, but who cares? We needed you guys to be, or the students to feel safe, and then go get something to eat,
Right. Well, did y'all feel unsafe whenever this norovirus came out? I know a lot of people were speculating.
I had the norovirus actually, so that was an experience. Of course, I'm not the Board of Health, so I can't make any definitive statements, but I live with 6 other girls, and I got sick on my couch, and I share a bathroom with 2 other people, and I share a room, and nobody else got the norovirus, and I was being sick all over my apartment. So I definitely thought that it was kind of, or I think that's the reason a lot of people thought it was kind of fishy, because I live with so many other people and nobody else got sick except for me, and I know a lot of other people went through that same thing, and I ate at the Max twice that day.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I think a lot of the students wanted to pin down the Max because the reputation is so bad. So I'm glad y'all are working to improve that and really, there for the students and listening to them. But so Georgia College is in the 8th year of a 10-year contract with Sodexo, the food services company. What factors will go into deciding whether to renew the contract or not?
Well, we have a pretty extensive process that we go through. And in fact, what we have, instead of a 10-year contract, we have a 1-year contract with 9 one-year renewals. So, you can look at it either way you want to. But I mean, the state itself sets it up intentionally where on any given year, you don't necessarily have to renew the following year. Now, with an operation as large as our dining program is, obviously there's a lot that goes into if you change contractors or if you decide to self-operate your dining program. A lot has to be done with a lot of advance notice because so much is involved in that. We will be looking over the course of this upcoming year at possibilities of what is the best option, whether it's another contractor, another vendor that we can work with, a different business partner, or whether it's self-operation. Either way, we're going to involve students in that conversation. We're going to involve divisions, faculty and staff from all over the university to have a say in that process, just like we did when we signed this original or the current contract 8 years ago. Pretty extensive process where we put out to bid a list of our requirements, and again, that list of requirements will be put together by faculty, staff, students. There'll be a good cross-campus representation on that, and then again, one possible decision is that we self-operate it instead of putting it out to a private company. Okay. So all those things are on the table. Well,
you said that some of you are taking steps to improve food variety. Could you give us some details on that?
Sure, absolutely. In particular, because we've gotten a lot of feedback from those with special dietary needs, we're really focusing on those areas because even though we've had several different options for vegetarian, vegans, and those with gluten-free diets and all, the feedback we're hearing consistently is it's just not enough. I mean, there's not enough variety in that. So we're focusing on that initially. We want to make sure that we are putting more menu items that are rotating more often, as well as looking into some possibilities maybe of special kind of prepare it yourself setup where the ingredients are provided. Students themselves can go into an area at the breakfast nook is where we're looking at, and again, this is a possibility and we want feedback from students on it, but where you can even do some of your own self-preparing of food so that you see and you're the one there interacting with the ingredients, putting the things in there that you want, that you're comfortable with, and having some more fresh ingredients available. So that's an option, but again, just increasing the variety itself of what's on that vegetarian vegan station in particular, and again, segregating. We're looking at how we can better segregate special dietary needs from some of the other to limit any cross-contamination that otherwise might be taking place.
Well, Kristen and Ileana, what are y'all's feedback on the special dietary request?
Well, I know coming into a college, the gluten-free options were one of the biggest factors into deciding where I would go. And so I was kind of told that we would have a large variety of different gluten-free options. And then the first week, there was kind of, a lot of options. And then after that, the entire fall semester, from October to December, I ate a salad for lunch and dinner every day, because I would go up and ask for the gluten-free bread and they would always be out. This semester, I kind of stopped eating there a lot just because of the lack of options for me. I sometimes would eat a salad, but mostly I would bring my own food into the Max, because I kind of felt bad, because my parents are contributing for my college, and I felt bad wasting that money. So.
Do you think the money is worth the meal plan overall right now?
Well, personally, for my dietary restriction, no. I wish that there would have been a little bit more of a variety. Like, I've never been able to eat a dessert, and I'm not really one to care if any of my other friends are eating something that I can't eat, because I've been gluten-free for 5 years now. But seeing that kind of made me feel that again.
Right,
So.
right. Well, moving on to meal plan equivalency. Under the current arrangement, meal plans can be used at the Max or at Chick-fil-A. Will this equivalency program continue?
It will continue, as far as we know. It's been a big boost. The students love it. They have it on their card. To be able to go to the lunchbox for breakfast, you get off the bus up there at the Arts and Sciences stop. You don't want to go all the way to the Max to get breakfast. So that equivalency up there for breakfast, the equivalency for lunch. You're too busy going in between campuses or buildings for lunch. The meal equivalency at Chick-fil-A after hours. That was a definite input from student suggestions for late night dining. We toyed with the idea of keeping the Max open later, but it didn't quite make sense to have this big building and all trying to keep a lot of food ready to go. So why not give it back to where the students like anyhow? So we initiated the meal equivalency swipe for Chick-fil-A after the dining hall closes, just so that when you get out of class at late time, you can head down there and get it. It's been a real big, the students love it. They really are there. They're lining up for it.
And not only do we want to continue that, but we're looking at ways to improve it. Obviously, this year was the first year we've done that for late night dining. And one thing we've learned through that experimental process is that we could do it better. Waiting to start that until 8:30 at night, we found, is not the best option. Why not make it available for a longer period of hours? Possibly even allow a meal equivalency, whether we do it once a day, twice a day, whatever it is. But if we do it once a day, allow it throughout the entire day to space out that timing when a student can then take their own opportunity to eat it when it's most convenient for them, or to utilize that aspect. And it may be that lunchtime's not the time to do it, to try to decrease the peak load at lunch and cut down on some of those lines and that kind of thing. But why wait until 8:30? Why not? Because one thing we've seen is the sales seem to be a little lower at the traditional dinner hour, because students are holding out until 8:30. And then when you open those doors at 8:30, of course, there's a line of 100 students, waiting to get into Chick-fil-A. So why not space it out, make it more convenient for, the customers, and it's a win-win, I think, all the way around for the whole operation.
Well, do y'all think students are happy with the meal equivalency program, or should there be improvements?
I think that, I know that we are really happy with the meal equivalency. I think starting it at an earlier time is a good idea, just because we get there early, the days that we go, so we're already there maybe 7:45, 8. But I know people that get in line at 8:30 and they're there till 9:30, which is that's a long time to wait, and then to get your food if that's your dinner for the day. Having dinner at 9:30 is kind of crazy.
Right.
But I do think that it's good that we have that option, because I know a lot of people are happy with that, and with being able to get Subway and stuff like that.
That kind of leads into another improvement that we're making as well, and that is increasing staffing at Chick-fil-A, at the food court in particular, Chick-fil-A and Subway both. A lot of those lines, the wait is because of at times it's been understaffed, and again, that's
Right.
unfortunate. Just as unfortunate as you not having the options you're looking for your special dietary needs. So we're definitely focusing on that as well, and we want to have it fully staffed and make those lines move a lot faster.
Yeah.
Well, do you think they could extend the equivalency to other restaurants around Milledgeville as well?
Possibly. We definitely have to take a look at it. How do you fund that? How do you handle the processing of payments to individual merchants that are private companies outside of our dining program? It's possible, but again, there's a lot that has to go into that, figuring out the logistics for it.
Right. Would y'all be happy with that if they extended to more restaurants in Milledgeville?
Oh, yeah,
I think so. I know when we got the $20 cat cash, we were able to go anywhere that accepted that, and that was like a nice thing to break up, because when you do eat like 3 meals a day, it does get a little redundant. So
Increases that variety for sure, and the merchants loved it. In fact, Jimmy John's was calling us that night. Are you guys going to do this tomorrow? Because we need to proof our bread tonight.
Well, moving on to the lunchbox. Hours at the lunchbox have changed and offerings have reduced. Why is that?
I was kind of curious when I saw that it might, that they've reduced. The lunchbox is still open at 7:30 in the morning, and it still runs through the lunch period and is open through the wee hours of the night. So I don't know where that hour reduction comes from, because as far as I know, we have not changed it for the last year, at least. The offerings, you go with what sells, I guess, is the thing that we look at. Again, the offerings that are out there come from the Max, and we prep the lunches and the breakfast. Again, it's an interesting question. I don't know that we've methodically tried to reduce the options. Maybe it's just, hey, we're running out of chicken salad. They love the chicken salad, so put it more out there, or whatever it might be.
Have you guys ever eaten at the lunchbox, or do you have any feedback for it?
I eat the lunchbox like 3 or 4 times a week. It's really convenient and good to have a meal swipe there. I do know that after I got sick, I was a little bit more wary of the lunch.
It looks like they closed kind of everything down after the neurovirus, so I think a lot of people were kind of worried about that, but do you have anything to say for that?
It's funny that you mentioned that, because I think that might be one reason that there's the impression that we scaled back. We actually, when the norovirus was under investigation, trying to figure out what was going on over the course of that week, as Greg mentioned earlier, we immediately shut everything down as a precautionary measure, and we went ahead and had a full inspection by the Department of Health. And one thing that came out of that, not that any food was contaminated or anything like that, but we did realize that we were having some issues with the merchandising cooler that was at the lunchbox, keeping the temperature appropriately. It was off a little bit, and we said, you know what, we're going to make sure we go ahead and get that replaced and make sure that, again, making whatever improvements are needed there as well. So for a while, the variety was reduced until we got that fixed and replaced, and then as far as I know, it's been back up since then, but it was temporarily down.
Right. Well, students were promised $250 in cat cash with a 10 meals a week meal plan, but students never got that. Do you guys have anything to say about that?
$250 promised with what?
With
meal
a
plan?
10 meals a week program.
No, I'm not aware of that. In the past, we've had both dining dollars and cat cash that came with the meal plans, and those were at student request. And in fact, through the years, students have requested more and more dining dollars and cat cash. The university system, at the system level for the state of Georgia, they have really had us focusing on how can we drive down costs to students, how can we reduce the cost. And one of the things they did a couple of years ago was they changed the guidelines and said, hey, no more declining balance funds need to come with a meal plan. There was such an amount of pushback on that within a year, and during that year we went ahead and made that decision to follow the guidance we were getting at the time, went ahead and eliminated all dining dollars and cat cash from our meal plans and sold them without that so that it would bring down that cost. But over the course of that year, the system office went back on that and then later said, well, you can offer dining dollars in cat cash. Well, we'd already made the change at that point and everything was published as far as rates and all. So we said we're leaving it like it is. So if there was some information that got out there, it was misinformation, unfortunately.
Right.
We do everything for meal plans on a year-to-year basis, and all of them that year and the second year since have been without declining balance dollars.
Okay, well, Ileana and Kristen, do you guys have any feedback for the Cat Cash and Dining Dollars program? Do you use it often? If not, why not?
I know that actually clears up a lot of like the misconception of, because a lot of people were confused about the Cat Cash with the Dining Dollars. But I personally use Cat Cash. My mom will upload some money, per month, and I can go down to Einstein's or one of the restaurants off campus, like Zaxby's, and get something to eat. So, yeah.
I know we definitely, there was a miscommunication, but like we did think that we were gonna get Cat Cash with our dining plan or thing, and like we didn't, and so I know the beginning of last semester we were kind of like,
Yeah.
where's it at? Right. Like we didn't know.
One thing that may or may not contribute to that, in the spring of the year when students are signing up for their housing and board plans for the next year, on the website you'll have the current year information that's there, and then you'll also have a link to the upcoming year. And so at times people may be reading what the current year is, assuming that's what's coming up because of the time of year you would think that's what's coming up for the next year. So I don't know, maybe there was just some misreading what was current instead of the upcoming year. I don't know.
Well, some students would like to break up their meals, but they are allowed to swipe into the Max only once during a given period. Why can't students go in twice during the same time?
Go in for breakfast
In the
and then
same
come
period.
back out again.
Yep,
And
some
then come
people are
back in.
hungry.
I guess it's more of just a control. I mean, when you swipe in for breakfast at 8:30 in the morning, it allows you to stay there as long as you want, and you can eat as much as you want. So we figure when you leave, you can immediately come back, 20 minutes later at lunch and sign back in, because you get that meal, not just once a day, but every meal period. So the ability to swipe back in right after you're already there, I don't know where the logistics of that comes in at all.
And I think it really is a logistical issue, as a matter of fact. I think there's a time in there, and I'd have to check it to be sure. I know when we originally set up, say, an unlimited plan, the idea is for it to be unlimited. You can come back 30 minutes later if you choose to. What was intentional about the card system, though, was you didn't want to allow someone to come back in literally 10 seconds later because a person swipes in on their unlimited plan and then they hand the card off to their friend who also uses that card to swipe in as well. So you want to cut down on that.
Okay. Have y'all run into any issues with wanting to come back in during a certain period, or any of your friends at all?
I know last semester I had an 8 a.m. and so like I wouldn't eat and I'd want to go like maybe get some yogurt, but then so at 7:30, but then after my 8 a.m. it ends at 9, so I mean it's still like kind of breakfast time, so I want to go get like pancakes or something, and like that wasn't allowed. But I'm not a super hungry student, so it wasn't that huge of an inconvenience to me. But I know like other people, like maybe even athletes or something, that they ran into that problem a lot.
Well,
And again, I think it depends on the meal plan that
Really?
you've gotten. Some are block plans, and on a block plan, if you have 150 blocks or 150 meals on a block plan, you can go in on day one and swipe in your 149 closest friends at the same time and use it all up at once. So it really does depend on what plan you're on. There are different parameters for each one.
Well, we understand that Augusta State sources some food locally. Is Georgia College looking into that option to help the community and offer healthier options?
We do. We use a company called Fresh Point. They are the ones that source our vegetables and stuff like that. We have a requirement, all universities, or not just universities, anybody that does food has requirements. You've got to be able to figure out where that produce came from. And so you go through vendors. Fresh Point does source locally around the state to find the produce, and then we work with that. But as far as going out to the local farmer that might just be 5 miles outside of town and picking his lettuce, no, we're not going to do that. We do go through the Fresh Point system.
All right. Well, how do y'all feel about the healthier options, local food?
I actually didn't know Augusta State did that. I think it would be a good idea, more healthier options, but I also do kind of see, the
I think if you
idea
go
behind
to
it.
there's in our dining hall, we say where we're getting it daily, where how many of the food products have been sourced locally. Like some days where there's a lot of tomatoes and collard greens and stuff like that, you'll see like 6 or 7 locally sourced farms. Other days, well, no, it's, you know, butternut squash, and that's not quite readily available around here. So.
Okay, well, what would be your hopes for the Max in the next 5 years, and where would you like to see it go? And y'all can start with that one.
Well, I guess I won't be getting a meal plan next year just because of the experience, but I think I would want to see the future Georgia College students be able to get maybe more of a variety of things, and yeah, I think just a variety is like the biggest issue with that.
Yeah, I think I would just have to agree with her. I'm not sure what I'm going to do next year as far as meal plan, but I do think that more variety would just be like a dream come true, I guess you could say. That's like the best thing I could think of.
Mr. Brown, Mr. Kohlers, what do y'all want to see?
I agree with the variety, and part of what I would like to see is a bigger student involvement. We have a student services committee with SGA. Now services, that ranges all the services, but we've actually had a focus group for the dining hall, and the participation hasn't been quite where we'd like to see it, you know, from the student side. Again, we know they're busy and stuff like that, but the input that they present to us, get those folks that have those special needs and tell us what you had when you were at home. We've had that happen with one of our students. She came in and says, well, did you ever think about this pasta dish or this cheese dish? And our chef goes, I didn't even know I could find vegan cheese. And sure enough, she gave him an idea and he ran with it. Now we have vegan cheese. So we need to know where that stuff is. Now, granted, we're supposed to know most of it, but you know, what do you make? Well, maybe we can turn that into a larger production. So I'd like to see a lot more student involvement. And then, yeah, we'll take the Max to the next level.
Absolutely. And what are we looking to do? What would be ideal? Again, I think we're hearing through surveys, we're hearing through the town hall, we're hearing through emails from time to time. My ideal is the same that we're hearing over and over, and that is I want consistently excellent food quality. I want it presented well. I want it beautiful when you get it plated. I want a wide variety of foods because that's the second thing we're hearing. And the third thing I want to ensure we're doing is that our customers feel like they're getting a great value, that they're getting good food for the price they're paying. Students have paid quite a bit. We know students pay quite a bit for meal plans. And this year, I own up to the fact that students have not gotten what they've paid for. And that's very unfortunate. I can commit to you that will not be the case in the future. So that's part of what I look forward to.
Well, thank you all for your amazing comments and wonderful feedback and all wonderful insights into the questions posed so far. We're going to take a short break now, but we'll be back. Stay with us.
The Bellamy at Milledgeville, community and lifestyle for the modern college student. Close to campus, fully gated, and a full-service professional staff. Come take a tour at the Bellamy or apply today at bellamymilledgeville.com.
In the small town of Elmira, New York, a boy was born into an all-American family. The odds of him achieving his dream in the fashion industry? 1 in 23 million. The odds of having a child diagnosed with autism? 1 in 68. I am Tommy Hilfiger, and my family is affected by autism. Learn more at autismspeaks.org/signs.
Get caught buzz driving, and you could do some hard time.
Craig, knock it off.
Sorry, Mom.
It could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. And that could set you back a few years. Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
At this point, we want to thank our guests for a spirited discussion about food service at Georgia College. Thank you guys and thank you to Kyle Cullers, Associate Vice President for Auxiliary Services and Organizational Development, and Greg Brown, Director of Auxiliary Services at Georgia College, and students Kristen Martin and Ileana DeJesus. And that brings us to close at GC360's live broadcast this semester. You can always check us out and our story archives at facebook.com/GC360 and youtube.com/GC360. Our GC360 team wishes everyone a safe and restful summer. We'll see you in the fall right here. I'm Merritt Dismuke, as always, available to you, GC360, where news comes full circle. Last time I get to do that. We do that every time.
The Bellamy at Milledgeville, community and lifestyle for the modern college student. Close to campus, fully gated, and a full-service professional staff. Come take a tour at the Bellamy or apply today at bellamymilledgeville.com.